reading out an old review from the Doctor Who Ratings Guide, the DWRG, of The Power of Kroll. This is from Tim Roll Pickering. He's titled this One Script Too Many. It was published on the 13th of the 10th. This story is most notable for featuring what has to be one of the biggest monsters ever seen in the entire series. Such a move is incredibly daring given the budgetary limitations of the series, but what's surprising is that Kroll does not come across as looking especially cheap or fake. Instead, Kroll looks huge and generally appears realistic and even terrifying. Consequently, the story is told around Kroll and utilises the monster quite well, most obviously in the way that it is literally the squid's emissions that provide the methane gas that the refinery crew are seeking. Unfortunately, there is little else in this tale that generates much excitement. None of the refinery staff or any of the Swampies come across as particularly effective characters, in spite of some competent performances by Neil McCarthy, Fawn, Philip Maddock, Fenner, or John Abineri, Ranquin. John Leeson gets a change from the norm in this story by playing Dougine, but is unable to bring to the character much that makes him stand out. The only character who makes any impact at all is Rom Dutt, who is competently played by Glyn Owen, but only stands out much by virtue of his character's role as a gunrunner. Even Tom Baker and Mary Tam fail to give their usual full performances. Plot-wise, there is little of note in this tale either. The story is a clear parody of colonialism and the anti-colonial movement, but by now this has formed the basis for several other Doctor Who stories, all of which are able to tell them far more effective stories. The Zombies' worship of Kroll is logical, but equally unoriginal, and again has been bettered elsewhere. Worse still is the story's ending, in which the Tracer is effectively used as a magic wand to resolve the story and end the menace of Kroll, simply by reconverting the symbol of power into the fifth segment. Robert Holmes cited this story as his least favourite, and given his absence from the series for the next 5 years, it's tempting to dismiss this story as one too many from one of the series' finest writers. The production values of the story are good, with the location work coming across as effective, even though a swamp is not the most exciting of locations. However, this is not enough to save this story from being poorly constructed and further let down by weak performances. As a result, this story is easily forgettable, 3 out of 10. It doesn't reflect my own views. This review does. I rather like it. It is very silly and stupid, but I have a certain fondness for it. I prefer it to both Stones of Blood and Androids of Time, and also Armageddon Factor, but it has nothing on Reboss Operation and Pirate Planet, clearly. Not a great season. The worst season of the Colour era, I would say. Not worse than Colin Baker's. Both of them are really mixed. Both of his seasons, and maybe season 20. What was it? Through 4. McCoy's first is not ideal either. Anyway, definitely the worst season of the Baker era is 16, easily.